So since the July uprising, which saw people cutting across all sections of society coming out, including political parties altogether, how do you see in the last few months the sentiment shifting or changing? And is there a concern today in the functioning of the interim government?
Well, we saw the build-up of the July uprising over the last 16 years, and how even in the July uprising we saw people from all classes, all religions, all professions, all political ideologies coming out and combining together online and on the ground, both in Bangladesh and abroad, unifying for a cause, and that is to end the era of an authoritarian regime, for a Bangladesh where they are truly free citizens in a free nation with own rights and freedoms. So that is the aspiration of the July uprising, to become truly free with the human rights, rule of law, freedom of expression, and inclusive development, where there is meaningful change in their lives. So people of all classes, all segments of the society wanted to change their fate. That aspiration still holds. If you go back, when the interim government was formed, there were some priorities from them. We wanted a trial for all the atrocities committed in July and in the last 16 years, the human rights violations. So we need progress in that. There's widespread demand for the interim government to stand by the martyred families, the people who died and gave up their lives for the nation. We need to support them. A lot of injured people are there. People lost their limbs, their eyes, and the interim government should stand by them. The price hike should be controlled, and at the same time, the law enforcement agencies should be more proactive. We need a law and order situation which is controlled and where this mob justice stops. And most importantly, there is a common aspiration towards solution of the problem that had led to this rise of fascism. And the root cause was that we saw 3 farcical elections in 2014, 2018, and 2024, where people could not vote. So the common demand, the unifying factor was that people wanted to get rid of an unelected government which didn't have public mandate. So the common aspiration was to elect a government. That government has a public mandate, has transparency and accountability, and will serve the people based on the electoral commitment they give to the people. So that hunger to vote for the first time in 16 years, to choose their own representatives, and to elect a government which is truly accountable to them is a pivotal element. It was back then, when the interim government took the oath, that the political parties asked to provide a concrete roadmap, a time-bound agenda, what the government wants to achieve, against which time frame, and against those deliverables, they could be held accountable. That expectation remains, and we still, even after 8 months, are waiting for a pragmatic roadmap through which the interim government can give us a time-bound action plan while keeping and articulating the top priorities they have to serve the people. So we would appreciate it. The people want December election, and the interim government has already committed they will be holding the election in December. And if that holds, then definitely the people of Bangladesh for the first time will have an opportunity to decide their own fate. And in democracy, the only way of public empowerment, the only way to ensure that the people's voices are heard in policy making is through giving them the opportunity to vote and choose their own leaders. The Bangladesh is passionately waiting towards that.
But when we talk of unity and all parties coming together, all sections of people coming together in July uprising, is there a fragmented society today where there are multiple political forces driving their own agendas and also not having the same cohesive approach that you would have imagined, and as the largest political party also now, seeing a kind of divisiveness politically and within society today?
See, the beauty of democracy is to have different views, different perspectives, and different paths. To have difference in ideology is not a problem, but not to have the tolerance and to create division based on that, spreading misinformation and disinformation is a problem. So the Bangladesh that we want to build together is the one where we'll have different political ideologies and beliefs. We might have different creeds, religions, and ethnicities, different politics and professions, but together we'll all be an integrated part of Bangladesh. That's the political ethos of BNP, the Bangladeshi nationalism, where irrespective of our background, our profession, our politics, our religion, we all together to ensure the same rights, the same freedoms, and the same protections for every individual who is a Bangladeshi. So we believe and we want to together form a country where, irrespective of what we think as a political party, as a person, what policies you're going to have, it doesn't matter. But for the sake of Bangladesh, for the sake of our national interest, our sovereignty, we'll all be together and we'll embrace each other. We'll go for dialogues, we'll go for consultations, we'll go for policy framework. How are we going to change the fate of the people? How are we going to improve their lifestyle? How are we going to give them economic opportunity? How are we going to help their families have a better life? All these things we'll be working together. How are we going to do the reform of public institutions? Those are politicized over the last 16 years. How are we going to create an accountable good governance system? For this, despite having different paths, despite having different beliefs, we should all be unified and we should coexist. We should show tolerance, mutual respect. Defamation or attacking somebody is not the spirit of this Bangladesh. Having mutual respect, a dignified treatment for everybody, appreciating everyone's roles towards a democratic and developed Bangladesh, that's the journey that we all want to have together.
Now, BNP was the first party that spoke of reforms. You also spoke of changing the constitution. Today, what do you see is the roadmap that the interim government is following? And there is this whole big question whether elections comes first or reforms comes first.
You see, for the first time in Bangladesh in current political context, BNP proposed a concrete reform agenda back in 2016 when the BNP chairperson Begum Khaleda Zia proposed Vision 2030. That had a complete breakdown how we're going to balance the power of the Prime Minister, how we're going to balance the power between the Prime Minister and the President, between the Prime Minister and the Parliament, between the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, how we're going to create independence between the judiciary, administration, and the executive body. So we need to create a Bangladesh where there will be more accountability, where people have a choice to make, and where the government will listen to the demands and the aspirations of the people. For that, we proposed a reform plan in 2016, and then in 2022, BNP Acting Chairman Mr. Tarique Rahman announced a 27-point charter based on that Vision 2030 and President Zia Rahman's historic 19-point charter. So that 27-point that he announced in 2022 was an expanded form of state reformation proposals, not just for public institutions, also for changing the fate of the people in different fields, in education, in agriculture, in industrialization. How are we going to address urbanization? How are we going to protect the environment? How are we going to address the climate change issue? What should be the foreign policy? All these issues were covered back in 2022. And then we consulted with all the pro-democracy political parties in Bangladesh. We went through a dialogue and then together coming to a consensus as part of a national unity in 2023 when Sheikh Hasina was still running the country as an autocrat. Acting Chairman Mr. Tarique Rahman announced the 31-point charter, which was a complete roadmap. What are you going to achieve? How are you going to achieve in a democratic Bangladesh for an inclusive development project? There we covered everything, right from the institutional reforms, how are you going to strengthen our public institutions, how are you going to create accountability, how the voting should be done, how are we going to create jobs, how we're going to control the price hikes, how we're going to take care of the urban traffic problem, how we're going to empower women, youth, and all the segments of the society. All these we have discussed over the years, and that stands as a concrete roadmap for reformation. Unfortunately, after the interim government was formed, there are various segments who are now talking about reforms who never discussed about it back then. And there is a rise of a new narrative where some of the people are putting election and reform face to face as a mutually exclusive thing. Which shouldn't be the case. Both elections and reforms are continuous process, never-ending process. Elections should take place every 5 years as a norm, and reforms should continue as per the requirement of the time, as per the demand of the nation, as per the aspirations of the society. Let's say the next elected government comes in and reforms are done by then. Will it mean the next elected government will make Bangladesh static? Will there be no change? Will there be no amendment? Will there be no progress? Will there be no advancement of the society? Reforms are inevitable to change the status of the people, to improve their lifestyle, to make sure that people are economically, financially, politically, and socially empowered, to give them a better life. So when somebody says reforms will continue and elections will be held, I think either this is a political strategy or this is a misinterpretation. But the fact remains, both elections and reforms continue like any other place in the world. And perhaps the most important relation is such that for the fundamental issues, the main values of the country, the constitutional amendment, all these should be done and carried out by an elected government which has public mandate. All the political parties should give their commitments in electoral manifesto, and it's up to the people to pick and choose, to decide which party they're going to vote for. And then the elected government with that election manifesto will be held accountable to the people, and with public support they will have to fulfill the commitments they gave, the reform agenda they put forth to the people. That's democracy.
How important is it to have good relations with India? And do you see the interim government doing enough on that front?
India is our neighborhood country, and it's imperative to maintain very good relations with them. The BNP wants relations to be pragmatic and sustainable. We want to forge people-to-people connectivity. We want to create and expand more bilateral and multilateral trades and investments. We want to expand collaborations in cybersecurity, maritime security, physical security. We want to have more collaboration in every front. That includes climate change, resilience. At the same time, we would like to ensure that all the deals and transactions that we have, those are fair. There is justice, and the relations we make are reciprocal. So essentially, with India and any other country, we'll prioritize national interest, national sovereignty, and ensure it's win-win and mutually beneficial for Bangladesh, for India, for the wider region, and for the global world.